Hello everyone, my name is Shelby Moore, and this is going to be video 3 of 4 for chapter 1 in macro and microeconomics. In this particular video, we're going to take a look at opportunity cost and marginal thinking. Opportunity cost is the highest valued alternative that must be sacrificed to get something else. This sounds a lot more complicated than it is because it really just boils down to the best possible decision that you can make that's going to minimize what you're giving up when you make that decision. In other words, the best decision you can make is the one that minimizes the opportunity cost. Think about what you give up to either watch this lecture video or to sit in your physical classes. What's the next best alternative to that? And that is saying, what is the opportunity cost? In this case, that could be working to earn money. It could be spending time with your friends and family. It really could be whatever you think the next best option is to either watching these videos or sitting in a classroom. Now, whenever we think about this next best option or next best alternative, economists assume that you're going to choose the best use of your time. To think about incentives and opportunity costs a little bit more, why do you think that more students go out on the weekend rather than on a Monday night or the night before a test? And the answer here would be that on a weekend, that opportunity cost of going out is a little bit less than it would be on a Monday night or the night before the test. On a weekend, maybe you go out and the opportunity cost or what you're giving up is some study time. Whereas on a Monday night, if you were to go out, you're giving up that sleep you could be getting. It's going to make your day a lot more long the next day. Or if it's the night before a test, you're giving up that crucial study time. And maybe you're not going to do quite as well on that exam because you gave up that night before a test time to go out. That's why a lot of times, whenever you're making decisions, you're already engaging in calculating opportunity costs without even realizing it. You're always thinking about what's going to be the best choice I can make that results in me giving up the least amount of things on the back end. For a lot of people, the opportunity cost of going to college can be things like giving up money that you could be making working in a traditional job. It could be giving up time that you would have to spend with your family or your friends. And it could also mean giving up those years of gaining experience in an industry when you're in class and not able to work quite as often. So the true opportunity cost of going to college. Let's break this down a little bit more. It's an important question for you to understand as a student because the cost of college, according to an economist, is going to be really different from what's typically reported in the media. We want to include things like tuition. Think of what you could do with the money that you did not have to spend on tuition if you were to not go to college. It's the same way with books. You could have spent that money in other ways. But perhaps the biggest component of this would be time. Think of what you could have done during those 4 years of college. You could have worked and earned money instead. A good example is that Ellen DeGeneres shows how she dropped out of college after one semester because she realized that the opportunity cost of going to college was too high since she could have been making a lot of money as a comedian. Now, keep in mind, not everybody's going to make a lot of money as a comedian or is able to drop out of college and create Facebook or something along those lines. There obviously is a lot of value to be had from going to college, but the time that you give up is an opportunity cost of that choice to attend college. Now, some things that are not opportunity costs. You don't want to consider housing to be an opportunity cost because housing is going to be expensive regardless of whether or not you went to college or not, assuming that you move out of your parents' house after high school. Now, food also should not be taken into account because you're going to have to eat anyway, regardless of if you're going to college or not going to college. So next up, we want to take a look at another practice what you know question. In this particular case, we're looking at the opportunity cost of buying a good. So the choices are the opportunity cost of buying a good is the sum of values of all other goods you could have purchased, the value of the next best alternative you could have purchased, irrelevant since you will have purchased your highest valued good, or the average of all values of other goods you could have purchased. In this case, the correct choice is choice B. Opportunity cost of buying a good is the value of the next best alternative you could have purchased. As you're studying for your exams and you're trying to memorize important concepts from the chapter, remember that you should always associate opportunity cost with the value of the next best alternative. That keyword of next best is going to be something that helps you trigger to know that that's referring to opportunity cost. Moving right along, we want to go ahead and talk about marginal thinking. Marginal thinking is really important because it's a concept that comes up quite a bit in a lot of economics and just general business courses. And as you're working on your economics essay, marginal thinking is something you're going to want to consider as well. So with economic thinking, it just means that it's a purposeful evaluation of the available opportunities to make the best decision possible. And because of that, we are required to use marginal thinking. This is a process used by economic thinkers. And when we think of the word marginal, or when we hear the word marginal, we should think of the word additional. So remember how most decisions are made. If you're out with friends eating pizza, you don't start thinking, I'm going to have exactly 3 pieces of pizza. You eat 1 piece and then you decide if you want another. After you eat the second, you consider a third. This same decision process is how you want to discuss other choices. Things like how many courses do you take each semester or how many hours do you work? You don't necessarily know the exact answer right away, but you do take into consideration how that additional course or that additional hour will affect your overall life. So marginal thinking is when we evaluate whether the benefit of one more unit of something is going to be greater to us than its cost. So the marginal benefit is the additional benefit derived from 1 extra unit, and the marginal cost is the additional cost incurred from 1 extra unit. Suppose that you're vacuuming your living room. The question that you might be asking is, will you move the couch and a heavy cabinet to vacuum under them? It really should depend on the sizes of the marginal benefit and the marginal cost. Anytime that marginal benefit is greater than or equal to that marginal cost, we'll go ahead and do that action. So when we think about vacuuming and we think about moving the heavy couch or the heavy cabinet, the marginal benefit would be that you're going to be able to vacuum a little bit more of your carpet. But the marginal cost is that that particular piece of furniture might be very, very heavy, and it's almost impossible to do it without hurting yourself. Now, another way to think of this is a student named Emmy, let's say she has a lot of allergy issues. It's likely that she'll go ahead and move the couch or move the heavy cabinet because it might be more beneficial to her to go ahead and vacuum that carpet to prevent the buildup of those allergens. So in all of these situations, whether it's to do something or to not do something, if it's to eat something or not eat it, to work more, to work less, to study, to not study, we want to think about what's my marginal benefit versus what's my marginal cost. And anytime that marginal benefit is greater than or equal to that marginal cost, we're going to go ahead and perform that action, eat that extra piece, whatever it may be. So here's another practice what you know question. With regard to marginal thinking, an individual will do an action if the probability of success is greater than 50%, the action has positive benefits, the costs of the action are small, or the marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. And in this case, the correct answer is choice D. An individual using marginal thinking will do an action if the marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. Please make a note of that greater than or equal to, because you will use marginal thinking throughout all of macro and microeconomics, and it's very important that you understand this concept. This is where we're going to go ahead and wrap up video 3. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email or reach out in some other way. And if you're feeling pretty good about this, you can head back over to Blackboard and watch the final video for chapter 1, which is video 4. Thank you, and I'll talk with you in the next one.